take about half an hour and just kind of chat a few things, worship, songs, songwriting, worship leading. We may have a few time for some questions, so if you have any questions, get them ready, and if we have time, we'll ask away. But in the meantime, introduce some of my friends. This is Taya Smith, everyone. This is Ruben Morgan. And last but not least is Marty Sampson. So you may have seen some of these guys, heard of some of these guys. So I've got a couple of questions. We're kind of just going to have a conversation, and we'll see how we go. So Taya, why don't you tell us, a lot of people have maybe seen you singing Oceans and traveling with the Hillsong United team. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got started, how long you've been a part of the team here at Hillsong?
Well, I've been a part of Hillsong Church for the last 5 years. I actually grew up in church, which I'm really thankful for. Had the best experiences within church. And then I moved down to Sydney 5 years ago. And I just got involved straight away, just like being in church. I wasn't necessarily serving or being a part of the creative team because I was working in a job that didn't allow me to serve in that way and go on to the team nights on Thursday nights. So I just got to sit in under the teaching and leadership of Pastor Brian and Bobby Houston and just got to get, I guess, see the vision for the house and just get the vibe of church, and it was awesome. And I'm so thankful for that time that I had away from the platform as well. And it was maybe about, let's say 3 years ago, because I've been on staff for the past, I think 2.5, almost 3 years. And it was about 3 years ago that I kind of came to a head of where I was at, and I was like, I knew that God had given me a dream to sing, but I just didn't know exactly where it was going to be, and I thought maybe it was meant to be in secular singing. It's kind of what I told my parents, so I didn't have to go to college, so I was like, oh, it's going to be a thing. And it kind of worked because I moved out of home. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to pursue that, but I didn't really do it because I didn't have the full-on drive. It's kind of bad. So I was like, maybe that's the way I'm meant to go. So then, it's a crazy story, but I'll try and make it shorter. Basically, I got offered to try out for The Voice Australia. I got right through till the audition just before the TV audience. And I played played 3 songs, played originals. They loved it. They said, cool, we'll give you a call in 2 weeks. And I had a friend that had actually said, hey, I'll back you if you do it, and I'll back you if you don't. But if you do it, just know that things are going to change. And I freaked out because I don't really like change, which is funny because we're in an environment that change just happens like crazy. That's like God. It's awesome. She said, but if you do this, it will change. So I prayed because I was just like, oh, I don't know what I should be doing. So I said, God, can you open the door if you want me to do it? If you don't want me to do it, just shut it, and I'm sweet for that. And then about 2 weeks later, my work had given me a week off, like forced holiday, because I don't know, it was just like, you can't take it at the end of the year, so they made me take it then. Tried to change the week, they said no. Tried to fly back home to see my family, because I'm not from Sydney. Then the prices just went up crazy high, so I couldn't even fly back home. I'm like, great, thank you, I'm at a week's holiday in Sydney by myself, this is awesome. And then on the first day of my holiday, I got a text from Michael Guy Chislett, who is the producer and one of the guitarists for Hillsong United, which I didn't know that at the time, which is funny. And he's like, hey, I'd love you to see if you can come and do some meetings for the Hillsong United project that we're doing at the moment, which was the Zion album. And I said, well, I'm actually on holidays and got nothing else to do, so sure. So I came in, did that, and then in the meantime of being in the studio, so it was like over 2 days, sang Oceans the next day. Then while I was in the studio, I got a text from one of the worship campus pastors out at one of the other campuses, and they said, hey, we'd love you to come lead worship at the Youth Night on Friday. And then I also got another text message while I was in the studio, and they said, hey, we'd love you to start co-leading within, big church services this weekend on Saturday. And I kind of took a little moment, I was like, God, I'm guessing this is kind of where you're opening up all these doors within 1 week that I've just like prayed this prayer. So I'm just gonna say, okay, cool, I'll go that way. And I didn't even think about The Voice, and they got back to us like, I think it was like 3 months later, and was like, sorry, you're unsuccessful, but I didn't really mind about that because I actually didn't have any desire or passion for that kind of stuff. and determination to see that through, and I just kind of, yeah, sorry, it's a longer story, but it's just basically God just maneuvering things, and it was only because I was planted in church and just serving as a youth leader for a year before anyone really knew I could sing anyway. So it was kind of like, yeah.
In some of his songs, he's an absolute legend in the church. Yeah, he deserves a hand. Songs like Mighty and Saved, Cornerstone, and Eagle's Wings. I think I grew up listening to Reuben Morgan songs. Absolute legend. The cool thing is, a few years ago, Rubes got asked with his family to move and actually help our Hillsong London campus. And so he's been in Sydney for several years and moved to London. Now he's taking that campus forward, doing a great job there, traveling throughout Europe. Rubes, do you want to speak to us about how you've stayed planted? And you've done a lot of seasons in church, one of the kind of key crew in Hillsong United when it first got started. You've seen it all, you've kind of been there lots of years, but you still have the most pure heart and still looking towards the future as your best days ahead. How have you done that?
It's an interesting question. Planting and staying planted. And I mean, I think if it's anything, it's about relationship, isn't it? And probably what would cause us to uproot and go somewhere else or change would usually be conflict in relationship or not being able to reconcile somewhere. And I would just say that there is the fruit of loyalty, the fruit of faithfulness, the fruit of things like perseverance and sticking to it, not over a few months but over a lifetime, rich, not in every kind of way, and I think, the Bible talks about staying planted in the house of God and flourish, but there's a fruitfulness that comes with just being connected to Christ, and then a life that comes out of that. And I would just say, firstly, that your life, your work, your creativity, your productivity comes out of a relationship with Christ. If you want to make lasting change in people's lives, our first connection is Christ. And then He gives us the ability to have good and functional relationships around us.
In our church, we have 13 global campuses and 15 local campuses in Australia. So instead of just having one worship pastor, we kind of have a bunch of worship pastors. And so we have a lot of different levels of leadership. In rooms, you deal with leadership so well, and you're always so honoring. Do you want to speak to maybe your conviction about that? About how we as a church believe in honoring our leaders?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, honor's a Bible thing, obviously. Like in Ephesians, Paul's talking about the first command with a promise in Ephesians 6, I think it is. It says, first command with a promise that you honor your father and mother, that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. And I love that scripture because it is talking about your mum and dad and honouring your mum and dad and giving them the value that is due them. But I think he's talking about the whole of life. If you want it to go well with you in life, and if you want to enjoy your life, then learn to honour the people around you. Not only your mum and dad and your leadership, the people that are given to serve over you or whatever, but also the people around you, learn to honour them and esteem them, value them. And then the people that are called to serve you as well in that, and you serve as a leader. And I think the principle of honour is really powerful and really important. And I think if you'll cultivate that in your life, see, it's one thing to get up here and honour God, but what does that mean if we can't get down there and, like, in our life, in our Monday to Saturday, know how to honour people and be the same?
Well, I really like your hat.
Thanks, guys.
I can't wear hats. You also got a nice hat, Ruben.
I bet you can.
No, I can wear hats, I just choose not to. Anyone can wear a hat, I mean, you put it on your head. I think Ruben said it pretty well, honouring leadership, I mean, for us, Pastor Brian, it's his church or whoever the lead pastor is, and the idea of worship is to create an atmosphere where we're praising God, where we're, providing faith, where we're kind of just saying, all joining together in unity, and then, the word will get brought and whatever. So worship is not the focal point of our church services. The focal point of our church services is for, you know, the word to go out and for people to find Christ. I mean, people finding Christ is definitely probably the focal point of our services, I'd say. It has been for a long time. So, you know, everything is to serve that function. So for us on the worship team, like, we're just there to serve, just like there's the guys on the car park are there to serve and usher people in, usher their cars into the right spot, and you know what I mean? So we feel like we're in that same vein of, yeah, like we're not the main attraction. So
yeah, so Jad, one of our worship pastors, often says, if God is really moving, you're not going to have to tell your senior pastor. He's probably going to know it too. And I love that what we do is always in submission. And so if we've been given 20 minutes, we serve those 20 minutes, and anything outside of that 20 minutes is actually outside our authority. And so we kind of work with our senior pastor and always make sure everything we do is in line with what they would like us to do. Mark, speaking about relationship and team, you've been around for a long time.
I've been around for a long time, Autumn.
Maybe 100 years? That's
yeah, I could be extinct by now.
So you've kind of done a lot of team, you've done a lot of life with a lot of these guys. Do you want to speak to the value of being friends and having a good relationship on team? What does that do as opposed to just turning up?
Well, it definitely, like, I feel like some of my best friends, like, you know, been part of church for a long time and, you know, in the worship team and whatnot. And it's good to know that you do things week in, week out with your friends, you know. And I think that definitely, even just observing, like, you know, the other guys on team, like, they do all kind of tend to look out for each other. And we're Australians, so we also like to give each other a hard time. So, you know, like nice hat, for example, even though it is a nice hat. No, yeah, so...
I took it, even if it was a burn, I took it. Thank you.
It definitely wasn't a burn, it definitely wasn't a burn. Yeah, so, I don't know, like, I just think, yeah, I think cultivating those relationships away from church is really important, you know, and, you know, like a bunch of us boys, like, we all love sports, and so we'll often, like, you know, talk about sport and just do all this stuff that isn't necessarily worship, which kind of, in a way, creates more bond. For when you do worship together, you kind of have more of a sense of family, rather than I only see you when I'm up on stage, you know. And me and Taya, like, we hang out all the time, we go shopping, and, you know, I say, oh, you should try these shoes on, Taya, they're all awesome. She's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you should get those shoes. Nah, it's all within reason, but yeah. It doesn't really have anything to do with worship, but in another way it really does, you know. Like, I think the way we interact with each other, like, you know, to get vulnerable, like, there was a moment when we were rehearsing when, you know, myself and Nigel were trying to work something out. We couldn't really figure it out, and I got a little bit annoyed, but, you know, we talked about it afterwards in the break that we had, and like, that stuff happens, like, on worship teams, like, where you don't see eye to eye, or you miscommunicate, or I'm thinking one thing and he's thinking something else, and, you know, the friendship's always more important than the product. Do you know what I mean? Like, getting it right on Sunday, or like doing amazing things in church is kind of, it's all about friendship. So
it's especially big within our culture at church, and it's something that's really encouraged. Is we're not just called to, like, lead worship, and I feel like that's the smallest amount of our week that we do is on a Sunday. Like, I feel like we're actually called to pastor people and love people, and if, like, part of our mission statement is love God, love people, and for that to happen is exactly what you're saying, is relationship with people. And you can't think to speak into someone's life and encourage them and know exactly where they're at if you haven't done the, you know, like, the foundational stuff in a relationship, like actually getting to know what their mum's name is, knowing their family, how their kid's doing, and
traveling around, like, in the cities, like, we all get in these minivans, you know, and, like, we all jump in and get our seats and stuff. And this is no word of a lie. The person that sits right at the back, so everyone else can have a better seat, is Taya. You know, like, and it just that honour thing, like, it's like, no one's telling her to do that, or she's not trying to get brownie points. She's not doing it so that I say it in front of all you guys. She's just doing it because she's like, you know. And I said, oh, you don't have to sit in the back, Taylor, like, you sit. Like, and she's like, no, but, you know, like, it's like an honour thing, you know, like, you guys have been around longer, and I'm like, man, like that's just so awesome. So yeah, there's so many stories. I guess those little stories are kind of the thing.
Can we stand? And we'll get Taya to pray for us, pray for tonight, pray that we have an incredible move of God tonight.